Hey guys, it's Marcello again from Shiralee Organic Meats. With Christmas fast approaching, I thought I'd share with you a wonderful recipe that my partner's gran makes around Christmas with all the leftover turkey from Thanksgiving. And it's a great way to minimize wastage and avoid things going in the bin. So let's get to it. So guys, to make this delicious turkey curry, you'll need 2 cups of diced turkey. I've diced it. You can shred it if you want. I feel that dicing it keeps it a little bit moister. And obviously 2 cups for me, but depending on how much leftovers you have and how big your family. So 2 cups there. I got 1 medium onion diced, as finely as you can bother to dice it. I got 1 tablespoon of curry powder. You can get the curry powder pre-mixed from the store, that's perfectly fine, or you can mix your own. I've just put in turmeric, cumin, coriander, ground ginger, and a little bit of nutmeg. You can add chili to this. I'm keeping this a little bit family kid friendly, but if you want it spicy, you could add a little bit of chili powder or cayenne pepper, up to you. Then for our toppings, we've got unsalted peanuts, toasted shredded coconut, dried cranberries. The original recipe calls for raisins. I'm keeping this as Christmassy as possible, and I feel the cranberries will be really delicious with this. And some diced pineapple. I've got some fresh coriander for garnish, and that is also optional, but I love coriander, so if you love it, get it in there. If not, leave it out. For the stock in this recipe, I'm using a house-made chicken bone broth, which I think is going to work very well with this. But you know, you can use packet stock or whatever you got. I mean, it is after Christmas, and let's be honest, we don't want to work too hard, do we? You're going to need a little bit of butter and some flour just to thicken your sauce. I'm using gluten-free flour in this application, and you can use any flour that you have in your pantry. So let's get cooking. Right, so let's get this curry on the go. So first thing you'll need to do, we're just going to get our stove on here. Get a little bit of olive oil into your pan, about a tablespoon. And I'm also using a knob of butter. So the oil is just going to help stop the butter from burning, and also it's going to allow us to then make essentially what do we call a roux. So we're going to add the flour, so equal amounts of flour and butter, and that's going to help us to thicken that sauce. So let's get the butter softening. Once that's all melted and just starting to froth, we're going to add our onions. Get those all in. Beautiful. And a good pinch of salt. Salt's going to help obviously season that dish, but also going to help get those onions sweating down faster. So salt in there, let's sweat those down. And just saute those down for about a minute, just till they're translucent and soft. We're not really looking for any color on that. Right, so as those soften down, our next step is going to be adding our curry powder. Now we want to add the curry powder first before the flour, because we want to cook out the spices, right? So by cooking the spices out, we're extracting those natural essential oils, and instead of getting a very raw spice note at the end of our dish, we get this really well amalgamated flavor from all those spices because we've cooked them out prior. So make sure you cook your spices out in the beginning before adding the rest of your ingredients. So these onions are nice and sauteed. You can see there's no color on there. They're just nicely softened and starting to develop that nice sweet aroma. And now we know we're ready for our spices. So like I said, about a tablespoon, depending on how much you're making, and to your taste, right? If you want a little bit more aromatic, just add a little bit more spice. So as you can see now, we're just going to fry those for about a minute as well, like we did with the onions, just to really cook out that raw spice notes. So let that go, and then we can move on to our flour. So about a tablespoon and a half in there. I mean, it's until you can create this roux. So what's going to happen is it's going to absorb that butter, the fat, and it's going to start to thicken our sauce. We're doing the same thing with the flour, where we're cooking that for about a minute as well, because we also want to cook that rawness out of that flour. So make sure that once you put in your flour, you also give that a minute in the pan. As you can see, there's still no color on the onions. They're just nice and soft. Spices are cooked out, and now we're just cooking out that flour, so we don't get the raw flour taste at the end. So about a minute or so with that. Get your stock or your bone broth, whatever you're using. I'm using a chicken bone broth here. Now we can add that into the pan. Now we'll bring that up to a simmer, and that will start to thicken. And when that starts to thicken, then we'll add in our turkey. Right, so you'll see now already, I've just turned down the heat a little bit to a simmer, and you can see how that sauce is already starting to thicken up, right? So this is a good time now to get the turkey in, and then we can gauge where our sauce is. This will continue to thicken. Obviously, check your seasoning. A little bit more salt. Oh, that's good. Right, and then in with our turkey. So basically all we're doing is heating the turkey through, right? Obviously it's cooked, so we just want to get the turkey in there and just heat it through. So you can turn the heat up a bit again. And you'll see that sauce is nice and thick now. It's coating that turkey. That's exactly what we're looking for. Right, so our turkey's been on the stove for about 5 minutes now, just bubbling away. So we're ready to serve. Righty, so just get yourself a plate. So you can serve this, I would suggest, with some rice. Boil yourself up some rice and serve it with that. You can have it as it is, a little bit of naan bread, up to you. I'm just going to plate it straight up like this. Get all that sauce. And then all these delicious condiments. So a little bit of pineapple. We've got the sweet and sour elements going. Toasted peanuts. Peanuts. Give you that lovely crunch. Toasted coconut. And really you can add all of these. You can subtract whatever you don't like. You can add something else. It's really up to you. A little bit of the dried cranberries, which, like I said, I think is going to bring that Christmas vibe. It's got that sweet and sour element to it. And for me, I love coriander, so I'm not going to skimp on the coriander here. I'm going to get lots of that on top. Just like that. And there you have it. We've got a delicious leftover turkey curry. Don't throw away the turkey, guys. Turn into something delicious. Feed your friends, feed your family. Let's give it a go. Get a little bit of everything. Get those cranberries. Come on. Guys. The pineapple and the cranberries. That sweet and sour with that curry. That turkey's still nice and moist. It's a whole nother meal out of leftovers. You can't go wrong, guys. Have a wonderful Christmas, and please give this recipe a try, and share your thoughts and let us know how it goes. And thank you very much from all of us here at Shiralee, and Merry Christmas.